Hey. So the Legend of Korra series finale aired not too long ago, and aside from the fact that it was like a super just beautiful series finale, it also had some beautiful LGBT representation in it. What? Especially in the form of Korra and Asami being confirmed as bisexual, which means that Korrasami is now canon. Which was basically shown in their final scene when they were walking hand in hand into the spirit portal, looking deeply into each other's eyes, probably filled with love. I really honestly just loved the way this was handled because they really didn't make a big fuss about it, and they just kind of made it seem like it just built up to this point where it was just kind of a declaration that wasn't really like in our face. And I think it's super positive to have this sort of representation in a kids show because there might be kids who are younger who might be struggling with this aspect of themselves, and this is definitely showing them that they can be bisexual, gay, lesbian, whatever part of the LGBT community, and yet they can still overcome these giant odds, such as the things that Korra had to face, or Asami. Both Korra and Asami were incredible role models in the show, just in my opinion, especially for younger girls who might be watching it and looking up to fictional characters, as most of us might do. And the fact that they were written as bisexuals really just brings it home that this is really a positive piece of representation in today's media. But I mean, however, there have been some people who have kind of been questioning whether or not it's actually representation. And because it hasn't been confirmed until the very last episode of the series, I can understand why people might be feeling like this. And honestly, I can see the argument from both sides. I can see that it is representation because the show never actually stated their sexual orientations. So I mean, it was entirely possible that they were bi the entire time. I mean, we saw the relationship build up from the first season, and we kind of just saw it build from friends to much more than friends and getting a lot closer. And I mean, yeah, they had like their little like thing about being jealous over Mako, but honestly that could have contributed to their feelings for each other a little bit. Then I mean, there were the letters that she sent to Sami, the several one-on-one conversations that they had as season 3 started, the fact that Asami took care of her after she was poisoned. All of this could have easily be seen as, you know, their friendship morphing into something that is much deeper than that. But because, you know, heteronormativity is kind of a thing, we just kind of assumed that they didn't see each other like that because they were both women. Because if one of them was a man, I'm pretty sure there would have been a ton of people being like, ooh, this is getting so romantic, like why don't they just kiss already? Thus, the show didn't really need to overassert the fact that they were both bisexual, and rather just kind of gave us that last scene as kind of like, yeah, they are bisexual. And then more on kind of a writing note, because of the confines that they had and the sort of episodes that they needed to fill, they probably couldn't have written in sort of a love plot with Korra and Asami and still make it feel natural. You know, with Zahir and the Red Lotus and then Kavira and all these things just kind of happening at once, it would have, to me, felt a little forced to put one in there and kind of diverting from stuff that's actually like kind of a little more pressing in the story. I'm not saying it was impossible to sort of focus on this a little bit more, I'm just saying that it might not have felt as natural if they tried to put more Korra and Asami love scenes in there. And I can see that it's not possibly representation because our heteronormative society kind of demands that we make the sexual orientations of characters a little more present earlier rather than the last episode of a show. Korra and Asami's sexuality not being confirmed until the very last episode could easily kind of feel like what I'm going to say, and what a lot of the internet will agree, is the J.K. Rowling approach to it. You know how, like, she said that Dumbledore was gay, but it wasn't actually written into the book, so therefore she's like, yeah, I've had representation in there. But just to put in my quick opinion, in Korra, it was actually written in, so... And even though this representation was thrown in basically at the very last moment of the show in Korra, which can kind of still feel like a throwaway as far as representation goes, by adding him at the very last moment, it kind of made it seem like they didn't want to work to be like, look at these queer characters doing these really cool things and being really cool and Yeah, rather they added them at the last moment, and therefore it can kind of feel like they're getting credit for having queer characters, even though we didn't know that they were queer until the very last scene. But ultimately, in my opinion, I think it is representation because the fact that Korra and Asami are now confirmed as bisexuals meant that it exists now in the entire realm of the show. I mean, though it wasn't confirmed until the last episode, the fact that it's in the writing still means that they are canonically bisexual, even if we weren't sure about it for, like, you know, the first 3 seasons. Because, I mean, it's not like they were straight and then suddenly bi in that scene in season 4, so because, you know, that's not how sexuality works. And I think this is great because we need this sort of representation in kids' shows, especially with society's weird views about kids not being able to understand sexuality like that. But aside from all that, this representation in Legend of Korra definitely got the conversation started among younger viewers, even viewers we may consider as children, and I personally think that's what matters most about this representation, whether you think it counts as representation or not. So let me know down in the comments what you think of the representation. Do you think it was just kind of thrown in and they're trying to get credit for it, or do you think this was actually handled very well? Let me know your opinions and stuff. Do like the video if you liked it. It helps me out a lot, lets me know that what I'm doing is good, and it's validation. Who doesn't like being validated? Share this with your friends so they can learn about stuff, and even your enemies and your dogs and cats and your neighbors, if you really want to be that like weirdo who's like, you should watch stuff that I watch. And do subscribe if you like. I post new videos every Tuesday except for this month, which has been me posting videos every day, which is probably more of my case than what you bargained for. Yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I will see y'all later.